the key to this entire process is who is your target market, who are the specific companies in that market, who are the particular individuals, what do they each care about based upon them and their position,
Okay.
and then for each individual, how do you get to them with the message that will cut through.
Welcome back, all those from the Strategic Selling Group and beyond in B2B sales. I've got Steve Hall with me again. Welcome back, Steve.
Welcome back, John.
Hey, last time Steve said, hey, let's talk through a case study for prospecting. So I'm calling on that. And he's just told me he's going to ask me to give some of the details of the case study. So I'm looking forward to this. Steve, let's talk case study.
Okay, well, tell me about someone you've worked with recently.
Okay, so what came to mind was I was working with an organisation selling cybersecurity services and solutions. And they were entering the Australian market. They had a few salespeople here. They weren't getting weren't really getting take up in the market, and they asked me to come and help them.
Okay, and was it just cybersecurity, or were they covering other areas too?
Well, it's interesting. They quite innovative products and services they had, software products particularly, cloud-based, analytical, really intelligent solutions that would be able to look at all the people interacting with their customer organisation and analyse that. And so they really wasn't just cyber security or looking at the bad guys, it was also looking at how the good guys interacted with the organisation. So they were able to look at protect against the issues of cyber security and all the risks associated with that, but also look at how you could improve the customer experience and use the staff experience and so on.
Okay, well that sounds interesting. Well, let's look at that through the things we talked about. First of all, the marketplace. Obviously, the marketplace for cybersecurity is big. Most companies now are a bit paranoid about cybersecurity.
Every company needs to think about it.
Every company needs to think of it, and that's great in terms of having a big market. But it's bad when you're thinking about focusing on a particular segment. I mean, you could focus on the Democratic Party in America to start with. You could focus.
Yeah.
You could focus on a whole heap of different people. But let's say, okay, well, who are the people that really are paranoid about security? And one obvious one is banks and financial institutions.
Yes, in fact, they felt that the banking and finance organisations were a target for them.
Okay, so let's say, okay, well, our market's going to be banks and financial institutions. Okay. Who are they? Well, here in Australia, we know it's pretty obvious. There's 4 big banks. There's a heap of regional banks. There's some credit unions. There's a fairly defined market. So your market's defined in terms of the specific organisations you're going to talk to. Next question then is, okay, which specific individuals in each company do you want to talk, in each bank do you want to talk to? That
was really interesting because when I first started talking with this organisation and looked at their strategy, they were targeting the IT organisation. And IT had, cybersecurity people, they had data security people and so on, and they identified those people. So when I started asking, well, what is the value you can bring to an organisation, they started widening it out to improving customer experience, etc. Suddenly, when I started asking a few questions, the target people in the financial institutions they were wanting to target covered a whole range of people.
Yeah, well, look, IT people are important. You do need to talk to them, but IT people, with respect to the ones that are watching, tend to be focused on technical areas and often have the ability to say no, but don't have the ability to say yes. So while you need to talk to IT, they're probably not your primary target. And from what you've said, it seems to me that everyone the CEO is obviously highly concerned about risk. It's a major part of his role is risk.
When we researched this, the Australian financial institutions, the board of directors have the agenda item on every board meeting is cybersecurity.
Absolutely.
It really is top of mind. The reason is that the insurance policy, the cost of insuring against cybersecurity has gone through the roof. The directors themselves are liable should there be a major cybersecurity and the bank loses customer data and so on and so forth. So it is really critical to the board of directors as well as a whole host of other people. So as a result, a lot of the organisations have put in a new position they call Chief Information Security Officer, CISO, and they put those roles in reporting directly to the board or to the CEO.
Well, it's a big issue, and as we've seen in Australia and in the USA, it can be very, very, very embarrassing for a bank when they lose customer data.
I guess we don't want to make this discussion about cybersecurity, but the important thing is, in this case, we identified a whole lot of different people. And here's a key person that they weren't even targeting when I started first in discussion, the Chief Information Security Officer.
So in our first interview, we said it was really basic to who you were talking to, but in fact, it may be basic, but it's not necessarily that simple.
That's right.
You need to look at the full picture. And the question is now then, okay, if you're going to approach a particular institution, let's narrow it down to one particular institution, who do you want to talk to in that institution? And I think the answer is lots of people. You want to talk to the CEO, you want to talk to the CISO, you want to talk to the CIO, you want to talk to the head of customer experience and head of marketing, a whole heap of people. So then we look at the question, what do they care about? And the answer is, it depends.
Every one of those people, when we looked at it, in one case, one large investment bank with some retail banking had enormous differences when we talked to different people in the bank as to what they really cared about.
Exactly.
They all understood cybersecurity, but what did it mean for them was totally different from the CEO to the CISO guy I talked about, to IT, to customer experience and customer service.
Absolutely. So you need to think about what your message is, which we talked about crafting messages, for those different people. So let's look at one of those people, which is the CEO.
Yes.
And let's look at what we're trying to achieve, because we talked about that as well. So if we're going to connect with us, to contact the CEO, what do we want to achieve? One of two things probably, either a meeting, that's ideal, often we can't get a meeting with him or her, then a referral to a senior person that we can get a meeting with.
Sure.
Okay, that's what we're trying to achieve. So what's the message we craft? Well, we need to think about what they care about. We need to tell them as much as they need to know to want to talk to us and to meet with us without talking about, if we start talking about cybersecurity, they're going to flick us off to someone else.
Of course.
If we talk about analytics or big data, the cloud, we're in the barrels of IT. So what does the CEO really care about? And you talked about that. They care about risk. And they care about
risk and customer service, customer experience. They're retaining and growing their customer base.
Yeah, but the thing you need to focus on is one message about what they care about most. Because if you say we can do this and this and this, you confuse them, they don't know what to do.
Okay.
You need to say, what do they care about most? So the message could be, for instance, we want to talk to you for half an hour about reducing personal risk for your directors. Because that's something, and I'm not saying that's the message, but that's the sort of message that would cut through.
In this particular bank, that was absolute key. Yeah, and the directors were all paranoid about it.
Absolutely. So the key to this entire process is, who is your target market? Who are the specific companies in that market? Who are the particular individuals? What do they each care about based upon them and their position?
Okay.
And then for each individual, how do you get to them with the message that will cut through, not make them jump to the incorrect conclusion and flick you off to someone else, and that will focus on the thing that's most important to them. Now, how do you find that out? You do it through what you did, through research. You look at company annual reports, you look at LinkedIn, you look at things that people have published. The great thing about targeting the people at the top is that they're normally more visible. They write a chairman's or a CEO's message in the annual report. They are quoted in the press. So it's quite easy to find out what they really care about.
Exactly.
And the question is then, how do you get through to them with a message that makes them interested enough to want to give you an audience?
All right. So can we finish there and maybe come back and talk more about how we do craft that message, how we do, what sort of tools we use to actually open the door and how we go about that?
We certainly can.
Let's do that.
Okay, take care.
Thanks, Steve.